there's a million books you could read about all the details and all the fine print. So is your book as direct as how you talk, or tell us a little bit about the format of the book for those people who haven't read?
Well, the book is more like philosophical and less practical than what I'm saying right now. The book is about, so it's specifically about partner marketing, it's influencer marketing, essentially. Yeah. It's like finding the people and places where your ideal customer already is, and in asking those people to promote your products and services.
Okay.
And this, this is everything from like PR to like blogger influencers to JV partnerships. Like all of this is stuff that I've been doing for the last like 5 or 6 years as a consultant and strategist. And there are so many things in this world of influencer marketing and partner marketing that I think are really shitty, the way they're typically done. Right. And so my book is kind of about just a different mindset around it. It's basically, so the core idea in it, I'll just tell you guys like the core idea because I'm super excited about it. I'm telling everybody about it. Is that there's these lenses of value that we look at people through. Okay. So basically we look at people and we judge them by these different types of lenses. Okay. Mm-hmm. So normally, particularly in marketing and in business, these are the ones you look at. Number one, you look at what I'm calling their capitalist value, which is basically how rich are they? Mm-hmm. Like, is this person important? Are they wealthy? Are they successful? Well, if they're this big, successful, rich entrepreneur, then they can probably help me, right?
Right. Okay.
And then number two, we look at influencer value. This is basically like, how famous is this person? Mm-hmm. And again, if you're looking for people to help you grow your business, you're going to look for people who are famous. This is, I call it the Oprah fallacy. Like, everybody thinks they should be on Oprah. Newsflash, most people should never be on Oprah. Like, unless your audience is like 37-year-old women, stay-at-home moms, like, why do you want to be on Oprah? Mm-hmm. It's true. Everybody listens to Oprah, but really, like, you're much better off anyway. So the level of fame, like, you're much better off finding an influencer who's like really aligned with what you do, which might be Oprah, but
right.
But it's the idea that the more famous somebody is, the better they are as a partner, and that's not necessarily true. Mm-hmm. And then the next level of value that people do look at, but they look at not enough, I think, is what I call your purpose value, which is basically it is what I was talking about earlier, like the kind of the core thing that's different, your perspective and your angle, and it's the thing that you're creating and the thing you're bringing in the world.
Right.
But particularly the pieces of it that are unique, the pieces of it that are special and different and that really are, kind of your niche mm-hmm. and your unique selling proposition. But the thing that is, in a word, it's just like the thing that's really special about your business. When somebody asks you, your elevator speech, mm-hmm. It's, you're like, well, this is what I do. And people are like, oh, wow, that's different. But that's your purpose value.
Right.
And then the last value that I think is important when you're looking at these things is just your basic human worth, mm-hmm. which, we talked about earlier, like how I said, I don't think pricing should be tied to that. Mm-hmm. But so the trouble is, when you're looking at these from the outside in through those 4 lenses, basically what happens is you cannot see people as human beings. You can't see everyone as equal because you're looking through all of these other lenses, and it's like the inner one is too hard to see. That's and good. So basically you're approaching, these influencers and you're thinking of them as like, oh, these gods that I have to like, I'm not good enough. And mm-hmm. I have to like, try to schmooze my way up and wiggle my way in and try to break into the cool kids club and, maybe get an introduction and you're like, and all of these things. And this is the approach that most people take to partner marketing, and it's all of this. And I mean, I could go on and on about all, there's specific techniques that a lot of people teach that I think are just ridiculous. It's like, spend 6 weeks going to classes at a yoga studio and, then eventually you'll earn the right to ask the studio owner if she might be interested in hosting your class, like,
oh my,
okay,
yeah,
that's a true story. It's just like, that's great. Like okay, if you need to do that, okay. But like, you don't have to. And so my whole, like the core of my perspective is we need to reverse these levels, flip them inside out. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at everybody first as an equal human being.
Mm-hmm.
And this like kind of transforms everything. And I come at this, by the way, like I think I mentioned, I'm really passionate about solving homelessness. And so I spend a lot of time volunteering with programs with people who are experiencing homelessness. And this is actually how I kind of came up with this whole perspective, was by, when I was working in partner marketing, and I'd spend my days on the phone with these A-list bloggers, and then I'd leave and I'd go volunteer at Foot Clinic, and I'd spend my evenings, doing herbal foot care for people experiencing homelessness.
Wow.
So I'm having these conversations like back to back, but through that experience, just realizing we're all the same. We're all human.
Yes.
We have there's this radical human equality no matter what your situation in life. There's differences in power and privilege, but deep down, we are all human, and we are all equal on that basis. And the reality is, you can't build a relationship with somebody on a foundation of inequality.
Yeah.
Whether you're looking down on them or whether you're looking up to them, you can't ever be real friends, real equals, have a real connection.
So true. Write that quote down. Write that quote down.
It's in the book.
Are you going to leave anything for us to read? Because I feel like you're giving a master class right now. I love it.
Oh, there's a lot more in the book. But that's the core idea, is that you want to, when you're approaching influencers, people who could potentially help your business, to look at them first as equal human beings, and to recognize, this goes back to your own worth too, of like, I am an equal human being,
right?
And so that's the tagline of the book, is building authentic partnerships on a foundation of radical human equality.
Okay.
And then you do look at the other levels. You can look at the purpose alignment is really important when you're looking for influencers, and how influential they are is important too. If you need to grow your business, then you want to connect with people who do have a following. But it's not, that's the third most important thing instead of being the only important thing, So that's what I mean when you flip the levels around and you just kind of looking at it from a different direction. And it can really change the way that you approach people, where you don't have to do all this schmoozing and, networking and things, but you can really be direct and say, hey, look, I have this really valuable thing. I think people might like it. I think it might be a good compliment to what you do. Here's why.
So much simpler. Jeez Louise. Talking about just being human without all this extra stuff, that just relieved like so much pressure for our listeners, not for me or anything, but for the listeners. Girl, I'm over here writing down everything, because that's what one of my questions for you was, how do you do this relationship building piece without looking like an opportunist? But I feel like you've kind of went around that, but if there's something else that you want to say about that, because I think
that's important. Well, so actually, no, I didn't really answer that. So this goes back to the purpose value thing. Okay. So the thing is, when you're approaching anybody, and this is true if you're serving homeless people or if you're approaching an influencer, you want to bring value. So this goes back to understanding what your value is. And again, I don't think for entrepreneurs, I don't think most of the time that this is like an inner, like, oh, am I really worth it? Like, there is that factor too. But the core thing is understanding the value that your business is creating in the world. And so this goes back to niching and uniqueness.
Yeah.
And it can take some time. This is where the reflection piece is important. It can take some time, and it's a challenging thing to really, sometimes you need to like kind of study the market. And, one actually really good question to ask yourself is like, look at other people who do something similar to what you do and ask yourself, what do I dislike about what they do? That was actually the initial question that led me to this whole thing. Like, right. I'm like, because there's a ton of people who teach influencer marketing, and they say you should comment at least 6 times on blog posts and reply to at least 7. They have these rules. Reply to at least 7 Twitter things so they'll recognize your name when you finally pitch them. And I'm just like, that's just so inauthentic.
Right.
Like, you're being
so
dishonest.
Calculated. Yeah.
It's calculated. I'm not saying it's great to comment on people's blogs. If you like their blogs, go for it. Comment on their blogs. Right. But if you're only doing it because you want to get a partnership out of them,
it's still not authentic.
That's just dishonest.
And people can feel that, which is what makes you look like an opportunist.
You are an opportunist.
Right. So that's
so
what
short answer, if you don't want to look like an opportunist, don't be an opportunist.
Don't be one.
Right. Truly
really
look for the opportunities.
What it comes down to, back to the purpose value thing, it comes down to really understanding what the core value is that you are offering the world.
Right.
And when you understand that, it becomes very easy to find people and businesses and influencers whose core value is complementary. Yeah. Who you can add to, oh man, I've got the best socks in the whole effing world. Well, I'm going to find all the shoes and you partner with them, or maybe the pants too, Yeah. Or hell, maybe underwear.
Right.
So I have a problem for you to solve. Just thought of it on my head. So let's say, we have a baby entrepreneur who is looking for their people on Instagram, and they know what their purpose is. How should they start? Do you like hashtags? Do you like searching people? Do you like?
Oh my God. Instagram is fun. Instagram is very fun. Yeah. I mean, hashtags are great. Obviously the more specific that you are about who you're looking for, then the easier it's going to be to search for influencers. But I'll just tell you one fun little Instagram trick that I have. It's called I actually got this from a client a few years back, and I think she read it online somewhere. So it's out there. It's not like totally unique, but it's very clever. So one really fun trick you can try on Instagram, it's a bit time consuming, but it's fun, is you start with someone who is an influencer who is just perfect. Maybe even someone you've partnered with before, but if not, then just somebody that you just really love and admire, and you just know that your work would be perfect for theirs. They're just perfect alignment, right? And then what you do is you look at their Instagram and you look at who they follow. Not at who follows them, but who they follow. So, and you might want to look at a couple different people, because what you want to find is somebody, the person you want to start with needs to be somebody who is followed by a lot and is following only a few. Okay, because then you're going to know the ones that they're following are like really
special,
like some people, right? Exactly, really special people. And then you just go through and you look at those profiles, and you can play that same game as many times as you want. You can, you look at all those profiles. From those, you pull the ones that you think look good, and then you do the same thing. Look at their profile and look at the ones that they're following. And what you basically, there's a couple things that happen with that. First of all, you're kind of finding the influencers who are followed by the influencers. Okay. Which is cool. But also, you're basically kind of creating a spider web of people who are all connected to each other. So if you, end up partnering with even like a small selection of those people, then they're probably all followed by a lot of the same people. So it's going to feel to them like you are everywhere.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? So like if you take any random individual person, they're probably following a lot of those same influencers. Yeah. So they're going to see your Instagram live like 6 times, even though you only did it with like 6 different partners. Oh, okay. And if you're, especially if you're selling something that has a high price point, back to the value thing, people need to see it more than once before they're going to be like, oh yeah. And so if they see it like all these different things, then they're going to be like, oh my God, like this person's everywhere. Yeah. She must be really, really amazing. All of my people are talking about her,
Oh, our audience is going to love that.
Very interesting.
Wow. So, this is a fun little trick. It's time consuming. I will say that, but I did it with a client. And we ended up with a list of, it was so many people. I mean, it was like 1,000 people that we reached out to. It was crazy.
Wow. That's cool. So speaking of social media, how does your book come into play with balancing out the tangled, we just talked about the web, but the tangled social networking web that many entrepreneurs get caught up in? Because, a lot of entrepreneurs, that is what they spend a lot of time trying to get that presence on social media, but to no end. Like they're never monetizing all of these followers. So
Okay.
Do you marry those together in the book, or is there?